The neon haze of Outpost 9's lower deck bar flickered like a dying star. Blue, red, and amber lights dance across crack walls, reflecting off metal mugs and the occasional blaster holster. I wasn't looking for trouble that night. I'd finished a long haul, 22 light years moving cryominerals to the Union, and all I wanted was a drink and maybe a quiet seat away from the mercenaries who liked showing off their scars. I found one at the end of the bar, ordered synth whiskey, and tried to ignore the noise. That's when she walked in, tall, silver-eyed, wearing a long black coat that shimmered like it had been woven from the night sky itself. She moved with the kind of confidence only pilots or killers had, or both. Her hair was a shade between white and lavender, and her skin faintly glowed, just enough to suggest she wasn't fully human. Probably half Zytherian, judging by the neural shimmer across her neck. People watched her like they'd seen a ghost. She didn't seem to care. I went back to my drink. Then her voice cut through the noise. "You, human, you're in my seat." I turned, blinking at her. Pretty sure it's the bar's seat. The room went quiet. Someone muttered, "He's dead." She smiled, not kindly. "I don't like sharing my spot. Dual rules." My heart sank. "For a seat?" "Nothing personal," she said, tapping the side of her holster. "Just tradition." The bartender sighed, ducked behind the counter, and hit the emergency shield. The glowing barrier separated him from the chaos that was about to happen. Around us, tables cleared. The other patrons gathered close, whispering bets and passing around credit chips. I stood slowly, hands raised. "Look, I don't want to shoot anyone. I'm just here for a drink." She grinned, pulling out a sleek ion pistol. "Then make it quick." The duel began with a soft chime from the ceiling, the automated system used for honor duels on the station. The rules were simple. First to disarm or disable wins. First to die loses. Her hand blurred. I barely ducked as a bolt of blue light burned a hole through my jacket sleeve. The crowd cheered. I rolled behind a table, drew my own sidearm, and returned fire. The table exploded in sparks as her shot hit the metal frame. She was fast, faster than anyone I'd ever fought. Every move was graceful, like she'd practiced for years. I could tell she wasn't trying to kill me. She was toying with me. I finally got a lucky shot, hitting the edge of her pistol and sending it spinning across the floor. The duel ended with another chime. Silence. Her eyes met mine, and to my surprise, she laughed. Not a cruel laugh, but one filled with genuine amusement. "Well," she said, brushing off her coat, "didn't expect that." I was panting, sweat dripping down my neck. "Can I get my drink now?" She tilted her head. "Sure, after you walk me home." I thought she was joking, but when she picked up her coat and nodded toward the door, I realized she wasn't. The crowd parted as we left. People whispered as we passed, some laughing, others confused. Outside, the air was cold, the metal corridors echoing with the hum of the station's engines. She walked beside me silently for a while before finally saying, "You're not from around here, are you?" "No," I replied, "just passing through." "Hauler?" "Yeah, cargo and odd jobs." "You?" She smirked. "Freelancer. Sometimes bounty hunter. Sometimes worse." We turned down a dim corridor lined with flickering hollow ads. She stopped in front of a sealed door marked Private Quarters 27A. "You handled yourself well," she said. Most men would have frozen. "I wasn't trying to impress anyone." "Exactly why you did." She looked at me for a long moment. "You've got a name?" "Rylan." "I'm Lyra." I nodded. "Nice to meet you, Lyra, even if you tried to shoot me." She smiled faintly. "You'd be surprised how I meet most people." Before I could respond, a loud thud echoed from the shadows. Her hand went to her pistol instantly. Stay back. Two figures emerged from the darkness. Rough-looking men with cybernetic implants and glowing red optics. Station scavengers. Hired guns. Lyra Voss, one said, his voice metallic. You owe Jaren some credits. Time to pay up. Her eyes narrowed. Tell Jaren he'll get his money when I have it. Not how this works. They drew their weapons. Without thinking, I stepped in front of her. Move, one of them barked. No, I said, raising my blaster. You want her, you go through me. There was a tense pause, then chaos. Shots rang out, plasma bolts lighting up the corridor. I ducked behind a panel as Lyra moved like a ghost, flipping over one thug and knocking his gun aside. I took out the other with a well-aimed stun shot. The smell of burnt ozone filled the air. When it was over, the corridor was silent again. Lyra stood there, breathing heavily, a thin cut on her cheek glowing faintly blue. She wiped it away and looked at me with something close to disbelief. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I said, lower my weapon. I know. She stared for a moment, then laughed softly. You really are different. Inside her quarters, she offered me water and patched her cut with med-gel patch. The place was small, one bunk, a workbench, and a holomap showing trade routes and bounty lists. You live here alone? I asked. Mostly. Easier that way. Fewer targets for enemies to hit. Seems lonely. She didn't respond right away. Maybe, but people like me don't get to stay in one place for long. She sat down, watching me. You risked your life for someone who challenged you over nothing. Why? I shrugged. Guess I just don't like seeing people cornered. She smiled softly. Humans, always complicating things. Is that bad? No, she whispered. Just dangerous. There was a long silence. The hum of the station filled the room. Then she stood and walked over to me, extending her hand. Thank you, Rylan. For what? For walking me home. I didn't see her again for weeks. When I finally did, it was on a different outpost, this time in orbit around Titan's largest moon. She was sitting at the same kind of bar, same half smile, same glowing eyes. She looked up when she saw me. Well, she said, raising her glass, fancy meeting you here. Seats open for you this time. I laughed, taking the stool beside her. The bartender slid me a drink without asking, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like a man just passing through a galaxy. I felt seen. Maybe the universe had a strange sense of humor. A duel over nothing had led me to someone who made all the wandering worth it. And when she looked at me that night, silver eyes reflecting the neon glow, I knew I'd walk her home again, no matter how far it was.